This is fun. You and I both love talking about manifestation and bringing in our good. And what would I love? What would you love? Like, this is the way to create a life that you love versus just accepting whatever it is that's showing up for you.
Yeah, we talk about lots of ways that you can do this. I talk about how I use this in my own life and the steps I use, and you can all find your own, but it is true. You can have the life you want, and you do have the power to do that.
And you deserve it.
Yes, you deserve it.
The world is a lot right now. Are you feeling it? We all need new tools to help us walk through the chaos with grace, ease, and compassion for each other and for ourselves. In this podcast, you'll hear from parents, educators, and other experts who can bring perspective to the monumental job of parenting. It's time to level up and be warriors for our kids and our communities. This is the Warrior Parent Podcast. I'm Marci Mitchell.
And I'm Debbie DiManno. As parents, we understand that it really does take a village to raise our kids. We hope that this podcast serves to create and support that community for you. Join us as we discuss and practice our core tools, which are proven mind-body techniques that can be used by anyone to improve your life on a daily basis.
Welcome back to the Warrior Parent Podcast. We're glad you're joining us. And today it's just me and Debbie because we are talking about one of our favorite subjects, and that is manifestation and creating a life you would love. So March is about creativity, and this is something that maybe sometimes people don't think of as creativity, but it absolutely is creating our life. And we're creating our life whether we're doing it intentionally or whether we're just doing it by happenstance. So today we're going to talk about how to create the life you would love intentionally. So I know this is a favorite topic of yours as well, Debbie. So here we go.
Yes, I was just telling Marci I've had quite a day already, and I should have done a better job manifesting this particular day, but sometimes it's just all part of the master plan, right? But yeah, manifestation is a big deal for me, a really big deal. So first of all, I brought up a definition because I like to be technical and whatnot. So I'm gonna read that out loud, and then I'm gonna talk a little bit about my own process, and how I've used this in my life. So it says, manifestation refers to bringing specific desires, goals, and outcomes into reality through focused thoughts, beliefs, and actions. The principle of law of attraction suggests that positive or negative thoughts and energies attract corresponding experiences or circumstances into one's life. So that's sort of like a basic idea of it. And manifesting is a very interesting process. And, Marci and I are trying to sort of demystify what manifestation is. We don't want to make it woo-woo because it's something everyone probably does and has done at some point in their life. And when I think back, I think we might have talked about this before, but when I think back to my earlier life as an athlete, I had a coach who was my track coach, my basketball coach, all the coaches, and he would show me how to do this. So for example, I was a mile runner back in the day, and he would have me imagine that myself crossing the finish line, right? My arms back, my head out, and just sort of imagining what it felt like to run through the tape. And so I would do this over and over and over again as a kid. And lo and behold, I won a lot of mile races when I was a kid. So that was my first exposure to it. And then the same thing for basketball. So, right, I would imagine, the perfect form and the basket swishing. And I would imagine that all the time. And in fact, I was a basketball coach for a number of years, and I used it with my kids. And I would have them imagine, winning a championship, and we won a championship. So people may want to think, well, that's just like some funky belief that you have. But there's actually a lot of science now to prove that this works.
That it works. And we know that Olympic coaches do it, other professional coaches. It's very cool that you got that as a kid. How old were you when you were taught that manifestation?
I was a teenager. Yeah, I was a
That's
teenager, I imagine, like 13,
Yeah.
14. And when I think about it, I think it's gotten me through my life.
Yes. That's what I'm thinking is like, this was not just something that helped you with your sports. This was a pivotal moment in your life where you learned that you had power to visualize what you
Yes.
wanted to, and then you practiced it and you proved it correct to yourself,
Yeah.
which is what's
Yeah.
better than that when you do an experiment with something and you prove it's true to yourself and now you know it and now you've been using it ever since. That's pretty
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. So, there's I was doing a little recon on this, and there's all kinds of, funky ways that people can do it. So they call it the 333 or the 369, or there's like all these
Mhm.
methods for like, you know, imagining what you want and writing it down so many
Yes.
times per day, morning, noon, and night, like that sort of thing. And that kind of, for me, that's not hasn't been the way I've done it, but I think for people who might be just starting out going, "Huh, I wonder if there's something to this," right?
Yeah.
Could I
How do I
use
get
this?
started?
Yeah, could I use
Yeah.
this for myself? It may be a nice way to get started. But I was telling someone this story the other day, and it sort of occurred to me like, oh my gosh, like this was something I was doing years ago. It was probably before my kids were born. So 20, 25, 26 years ago. I'm working really hard. I have this kind of big career, but I'm exhausted. And even though
Mm,
I have this big career, I don't kind of have everything that I'm wanting or needing in
right.
relationships or where I live and that sort of thing. So I would call it my walking immersion. So I would go and I would walk through these homes, these really beautiful homes that have a lake view
Mm,
and like all this stuff. And I thought if I just immerse myself in this beauty
yeah.
and these homes and this wealth and all these things that I kind of think that I want for myself, maybe it'll show up. So lo
Yeah.
and behold, this is now some 27 years later. And in fact, I'm building my dream home on that lake,
Yeah.
about 2 blocks from where I used to walk.
Yeah.
So right?
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
people I think people also think like it's you just snap your fingers like, oh, I'm manifesting, like law of attraction,
Right.
um, like wake up the next morning like, well, where is it? Like
Yeah.
I didn't win my lotto ticket or whatever,
Right.
right? But
That to speak to that piece. So for you, and I will point out, yes, now you're building your dream home on the lake, but you've had a home almost on the lake with a lake view for a
yes,
long time. So
yes.
it's not, I don't know how much, we can cut off, whatever, at least 7 years, right?
Yeah, yeah,
But but it's the timing is nebulous. Like one thing that my son has said to me is that, time is a social construct. So that's a weird thing to wrap your head around, but it can be instant. It can be like you can be like, God, I could use a cup of coffee right now and feel it and think about it. And someone can come up and say, Here, I got you a cup of coffee. So it can be instant and
yeah,
it can take a little longer. And
yeah,
so some of it is letting the time, letting that, like, just focusing on the what and letting the how take care of itself. And that's the part that, some people might call it spiritual, but we say we focus on what we want and we let the how it's going to come be the universe's job or God's
right.
job or spirit's job or whatever, science, whatever word you
Yeah,
want to use. And we don't want to, we're not a religious podcast. We're both very
right.
spiritual people. I think most people have spiritual tendencies, but the idea is that you put your thought into the thing and what you want and just seeing it and feeling it, like you talked about immersing yourself in
Mhm.
the feeling. But you don't start thinking, okay, I'm going to do this and that, and if I do this and if I make it look like this, and because
Yes,
now you're, in one way, you're limiting the dream.
yes,
You're like, it has to show up this way. That doesn't mean you don't do anything. We often
yep,
say, that you still are going to go out and live your life and do the things that bring it, but you're not trying to control the process. And that, I feel like
yeah,
that's an important thing, because a lot
yeah,
of us get into that, like, well,
yeah,
how's it going to happen? Don't worry about that. What do you want? Start
right,
there. What would you
right,
love?
yeah,
That's what Mary Morrissey says, and I love that. She has a program called Prosperity Plus, and she always says, "What would you love?" Not
yeah,
what do I think I could afford, or what seems reasonable, or
yeah,
what, based on the stock market or based on the news, what could I do? No,
yeah,
what would I just love?
yeah,
If money was no object, if everything was just easy, what would I choose? And start
yeah.
there.
Yeah, I think, I can't remember if I told you the story or not, but I had a pretty rough go of it growing up. So I didn't just roll out of bed and like this is my life. Like it
Yeah.
is there's been less than
Yes.
pretty.
It's been a journey.
Yes. And so I remember I was probably 28 or so. I was dating this physician, and he could sort of see all these things in me that I couldn't see for myself. I was just in the
Mm,
grind of it, like, oh, life is hard and this sucks, and like that, right? Like that.
yeah.
And I think, for probably a lot of people listening to this are going, oh wow, look at these girls, blah, 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 blah. They didn't have it so hard or whatever. And so I'm trying to make a point that sometimes we get so blinded and in such a dark place, it is hard to imagine, right?
Yeah.
And this
Yeah.
person said to me in a moment, can remember exactly where I was standing out in the middle of a road on a walk. And he said
Mm,
to me, what do you dream about? What are your dreams? And I
yeah.
just burst into tears and I
Mm,
collapsed on the road. I did not have a dream. I couldn't. I just couldn't.
yeah.
Life had been so hard for me.
You'd been in survival mode. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And
Yeah.
so I think about this now. And so, people are like, well, what is a dream? Or she's always daydreaming, or people kind of blow off this whole idea
Right.
of dreams and they sort of lose the process of imagination. And I think
Yeah.
that is missing for a lot of society. That is
Yeah.
missing for so many kids trying to have a childhood, right?
Yeah.
Because we got our thumb on them and it's this and it's that and you should do that, and not
Yeah.
allowing that place for creativity and imagination, because without that, how can you have a dream?
Yeah. There's two
Right.
things that you said that I really want to follow up on. One is that thank goodness that you had that teacher who
Mm.
that coach, because you weren't going to get that at home, that visualization. That's
Yeah.
one thing, how important our teachers and our coaches and those other people in our life can be. The other thing is that when you're in survival mode, you can't, it's harder to dream. And so because you're just trying to survive. How
Mhm.
how do I stay safe? Where's my meal coming from? Do I have a home to live in? Like when people are in these places, it is way harder to dream about what would I love, because we're just trying to survive. So
Yes.
we need to lift people. We need to give people a safe place, a place where they have shelter and they have food and they have a safe place where they're not frightened that they're going to be hurt. And even if you're in that place, if you can find the space, if you can find some little space to just dream about that, like a place where
Yeah.
I'm safe and where I have food and where I'm sheltered, that's a place to start. Sometimes we have to start, well, always, we have to start where we are. That's just how it is. And
Yeah.
it's not fair. It's not equitable that some people are starting in such a challenging place and some people have so much, but this is where we are right now.
Yeah. So I think about the journey there is kind of where it started for me, where I thought, wow, you know what? Maybe I should have a dream. Maybe I should try to imagine a different life than the one I'm living right now. And I
Mhm.
remember just thinking, if I could just think about just one thing, because it felt too overwhelming to think of all the possibilities, right?
Yeah.
It's just that one thing.
Yes. One
And so,
thing.
yeah, and then it was just consistency, right?
Mhm.
It's like something it's no different than getting up and brushing your teeth. I
Yes.
found some place of some day, whether, for me, a lot of times it's in the bathtub at night when I have a quiet moment, and even moms who little kids hopefully can
Yeah.
get their tub time or a shower at night to
Yeah.
do this. But I felt like it became a discipline for me to do this.
Uh-huh.
And I do this every day. I do this 2 and 3 times a day. I do this for my
Yeah.
husband. I do this for my kids. Now, granted, they've got their own journeys, but it doesn't mean
Right.
we can't support those around,
Yeah.
because
Yes.
part of my manifestation in having this beautiful life, which I feel like I've created, is to have all those people in my life, our kids, our stepkids, to have
Yes.
them have beautiful lives and to have
Yes.
them to have everything they want.
Yes.
So, right?
we're wanting the good for all of our family. We're all connected. And even
Yes.
beyond that, it's not a pie. There's not a limited amount of good. Everyone
Right.
deserves their good. Hey, we just wanted to take a quick moment to tell you about something very exciting that Debbie and I and our team have been working on for literally years. And that is our Cour Tools app, which is now available at the Google Play Store and at the Apple Store. And you can sign up for it now, and you will get access to all the tools we've been talking about on the podcast.
And if you're an early adopter of Cour Tools, you can get a VIP price for $49 for a lifetime. That's
Lifetime.
right.
Buy it once, and we'll keep updating it too.
Yes. So we're super excited about this. Go to Apple Store, go to Google Play, and purchase it now.
Cour Tools, COUR, capital TOOLS.
Go get it. And so then there is an opportunity, right, for us as moms, or someday grandmother, I hope. But
Yes.
but for
When they're ready.
yeah,
We're ready
to
when you guys are ready.
yes, no pressure, no pressure. But to teach them about this,
Yeah.
right? Like, what do you ask them? What do you dream about? How
Yes.
are you working on that? Are you
Yes.
are you immersing yourself in the life that you want? Are you
Yes.
surrounding yourself with supportive people to support your dreams,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
But if you're not believing this yourself, it's pretty hard to teach your kids how to do it, or the people
Yeah.
around you how to do it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And that's the beauty of proving it to yourself. And
Yeah.
I've done some of these different either classes or workshops or programs, or even, a few days at a time, where you're having an experiment in manifestation, where you're setting some goals, you're setting up, like you say, you're setting time each day when you're contemplating what you would love, or you're tithing, which is a practice that, traditionally was 10% of income goes to the place that spiritually feeds you. So traditionally it was always the church, but whatever spiritually feeds you, you're giving back 10% of it. And that's bringing more to you. And that's an experiment that I have conducted in my life many times and seen huge benefit from. And
Yes.
so there's these, and then gratitude. When we talk about gratitude a lot, it's another piece of manifestation. When you're grateful for what you have, when you're
Yes.
looking at whatever it is and saying, man, this is great. I love this. I'm so grateful for a bed to sleep in. I turn my faucet and water comes out. And if I turn this one, it's hot water, like things that not everybody has, a home, shelter, wherever you start. Food, there's always food in my refrigerator. And then you can manifest more. You can bring in more that way. And that's some of these practices that we can then start to bring in. And one of them that I did this year with my kids, my older son and his wife had moved back up to the area where we are, and they hadn't been around. But at New Year's, we had everyone at our house, including some of their friends and my other son, and pulled my husband out there too. And last year I built a labyrinth in my backyard, just with rock in a space, built this labyrinth that could be walked. And so we did a ritual on New Year's. It was either New Year's Day or it might have been this 2nd of January. But we went out, we did, I kind of led them through some centering exercises. And then we all took a stone. I had these rocks, and we infused it with what our intention for the year, for now, for whatever. And we had pins too. You could write the intention. So I said, whatever it is, it could be a thing. It could be, it could be money. It could be a new car, but it could also be more calm in my life, or better health, or better relationships. Like Debbie was saying, it's way more than money. It's abundance of what you want to make your life the way you want it. And so we all, we infused them. We took a moment, we thought about it. And then when we were ready, we walked the labyrinth with the stone. And I told them, either leave it somewhere in the labyrinth or take it home with you, whatever felt right. And so we all did this, and it was wonderful because it's something I've been doing for a while, but it was so experiential. And all of the kids, and I say kids, they're in their late 20s, most of them, all of them, but they were like, that was so cool. That was such a neat thing. And ritual is a wonderful way to bring it in. They really enjoyed it. And so again, that's a way to pass it on. And even my husband, who is, an atheist, a science guy. He did it. He was into
Yeah.
it. And I think, it just sometimes it's just a little step. But again, it starts with that. What would you love? What would you
Yeah.
love? Ask the question and
Yeah.
then be open to what comes in.
Yes, yes. A couple other examples I was thinking of. So I probably talked about this on the podcast too, but there was a point in my life when I was very, very sick.
Mm,
I had to imagine myself perfect, whole, and complete. And I
yes.
did this for months and months
Yeah.
and months and months and months. And
Yeah. And you were
eventually,
even at a place where you really weren't able to walk. I mean,
yeah,
your health
I
was
was I was bedridden.
very,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, it can be around health. The other thing I
Yes.
want to say is what was the movie and the book that came out
The
for
secret.
The Secret? Yes.
Yes.
How can we forget, right? But
Yes.
we're
Yeah.
we're talking quantum physics now, and everyone was into it. And I had sort of been in that quantum world for some time. I was actually teaching some of those
Mm-hmm.
techniques. But I think what people miss, and a lot of people, especially spiritual people, have suggested that, like, you don't just go in imagining $1 billion, right? And think, oh, I'm going to win the lottery if I just keep imagining the $1 billion is just going to show
Yeah.
up, because that's the energy that I'm putting out, right? So I want to tell you that I manifest $1 billion every day, and I have since I met my husband. This is a very common practice for me. But the difference is that with the $1 billion comes a lot of responsibility for a lot of people in taking care of the planet, in taking
Yeah.
care of the world.
Right.
That is my universal promise, is that when that money comes to us, we have a lot of responsibility in taking care of
Yeah.
those around us. And you can call that karma, you can call that whatever. But my personal belief is that without making sure that you are doing good with this and not
Yeah.
something bad with whatever it is you're getting, um,
Right.
it will show up for you.
Yeah. That's
Right?
interesting you say that because I'm remembering. So I mentioned Mary Morrissey. This is her Prosperity Plus program. This was two, but she has lots of them. But she talks about a dream builder plan where you go through these steps. But when you come up with that dream, then you ask questions. Is this something that's good for me, but is it also good for others? Is it
Yes.
expansive? So because you can't set your dream to be this is for me, and if certainly if it's going to hurt someone else, like,
Yes.
oh, I'm going to build this house, but I have to raise this village first, and too bad for
Right.
them. That's
Right.
you are not in alignment with
No.
the universe, with this good power for good when you're doing that. So when your dream is uplifting not only to you, but those around you, your family, other people, and not hurting anyone, that's a good place to start. So that's a great thing to bring up. And then we talk about the gratitude, having gratitude for what is, what an important piece that is. And
And then
then, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and then Marcy and I are sort of following a process that we all use, but then you're sort of grounding it, right? So you're grounding it in the intention, so it's like, and you're imagining as if it is already done, right? So you're
Yes.
not like,
Act as if,
yeah, and that
yeah,
it's not the, oh, I wish, I hope, like, I want.
right.
No, 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 no. You're imagining yourself swimming around. If it's $1 billion,
Yes.
if it's perfect health, you're swimming around, you're feeling it with all your senses. You're
Yes.
imagining it as if it is already done.
Yes.
And I believe that's the most critical piece, is that
Yeah.
if you really can't imagine yourself in it, walking in it, living that life, you're
Yeah.
wasting your time.
Yeah,
You're wasting
that's
your time.
that's what's attractive is feeling it. They said that in The Secret, you have to feel it. You have to really live in it, and it is attractive in that way. It's attracting that good, and you know what? That's fun. So
Yeah.
like whatever the goal is. So let's say maybe it's a new car. Maybe you're in a situation where you just really need a new car. You don't have a car, or the car you have is causing all kinds of problems. It's imagine what does that car look like? What do you and what does it make you feel like to be in that car? Like you're
Yeah.
safe, you're going to get where you need to go. Maybe it's luxurious. Maybe there's something important to you, like maybe it's a sunroof so that you can feel like the world is you have the sun coming in or whatever. It's
Mhm.
feeling of that. And then also feeling the gratitude that knowing that it is dropping in.
Yeah.
And so that's part of the tension too. And we talked about this, but if you don't show up with intentions about what you want, stuff's going to come in. But are you going to drive it? Are you going to bring in what you want? Or are you just going to accept whatever you get? And on some things, you might be fine with that. Like some things are not important to you, but what is important to you? Is it your home? Is it relationships? Is it time and money freedom that allows you to live the way you want? Is it feeding people? That can be something you manifest, a way to feed the hungry, a way to uplift others. So, but getting intentional about what it is you want and then acting as if, like Deb said. So if you do affirmations, which is something we talk about, you're not saying, "Oh, I hope that I can get that new car." You're saying,
Right.
I see my new car, and maybe you're specific about it. I see a new pickup truck with white leather and it's super reliable coming to me today. But
Mhm.
what you don't do is say, "Oh, I know that my grandmother is going to give me some money so I can buy that truck." Like maybe that's how it's going to happen, but that's the universe's job. The how is not yours. You
Yeah.
focus, you find the goal, you focus on it, you have the feeling, and then you know that the universe is bringing it to you. And
Yeah.
things show up in very unexpected ways, which is why you don't do, what do I think I could afford? Like you
Right.
could say, I want to see this truck, and then who knows, it could show up in the most unexpected way.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's sort of the psychological piece too. So I think what's happened now is it's not a woo-woo sort of spiritual thing. A lot of psychologists are using this now, and they're
Mhm.
using it in a way to help people who are maybe have some depression or anxiety. It's helping
Yeah.
them with mindset, right?
Yeah.
It's helping them to set their goal, to set up some strategies for their life, and to release the crap that isn't serving them anymore, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of psychological studies now that are coming up around manifesting, right?
Yeah.
So more proof to come. Thank God.
Right.
Right.
And that goes back to what we've talked about on a lot of episodes, is that the neural pathways. And so you're thinking a certain way, you're thinking a certain way in your brain, you're creating neural pathways that are just like ruts in the road. Just like if I walk across a mountain to Debbie's house every day and we live on the country and I walk the same way, there's a rut, there's a little path that gets created. And so that's the way I go because that's the easiest way. But
Right.
if I decide that no, there's something about that path I don't like, I want to do it a different way. I want to show up at her front door. I don't need to show up at her back door. Who am I? I could show up at her front door. So now I'm going to create a new path. At first, it's challenging. It doesn't feel right. I'm used to going this way. Same thing in your brain. Now you're going to think differently. You're going to stop yourself when you say, "Oh, I'll never be able to get that truck I want," or "I'll never be able to get the
Right.
job." And you stop and say, "Wait,
Yeah.
cancel that. That's another technique. That thought is not the thought I want. Now I'm choosing a better thought. I'm not going to beat myself up because I thought that. No,
Yeah.
I'm going to release that and be like, yes, I'm getting that truck and I know
Yeah.
it's coming to me right now and I can't wait to drive it. Or I'm
Yeah.
going in the front door to Debbie's house. So now I've cut a new path. And the more I walk that, now I'm building a new neuro pathway that now is going to become easier for me. So
Right.
I'm clear on what I want. I'm not just taking what I'm used to, what's been in the past. I'm saying, no, this is how I want to do it. And now I'm intentionally creating this new neural pathway. And that's the science part,
Yeah.
that now it's going to become easier and that will become my go-to instead of
Yeah.
the more negative or
Yeah.
the thing that's not what I want.
And there's lots of ways to do this. Of course, this is a part of Marci and my tools, but another way of doing that is journaling, right?
Mhm.
You're
Yeah.
setting your intention in your journal, maybe daily, weekly, however often you're doing it, but then you're going back to that intention. So you're not like, oh boy, a month has gone by. What was that thing
Yeah.
I was
Right.
thinking that I wanted, right? So I think
Right.
journaling is a really
Journaling's great.
really beautiful way to sort of set that in. Also, we know that handwriting, maybe
Yes.
not journaling on your phone, but handwriting is a way to redo those neural pathways also in your brain. You're doing
Yes.
a rewire by actually handwriting those manifestations. And then the
Yeah.
other thing that you've seen Marci do a million times and is so eloquent with it, is meditation, right?
Yeah.
So for those of you who love meditation, this is a beautiful way. Maybe there's
Mhm.
a little mini meditation that you do throughout the day where part of that is your manifestation, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, so there are all kinds of ways that we can do this. And I think, Marci and I have shared our own ways of doing this, right? But I think everyone who's listening will find their own.
Yeah. Play with it. Make it fun because it really is. So we've been talking about these steps, intention setting, gratitude for what we have, visualization. Another one that I see is kind of that final one, and I sort of touched on it when I said the how is the purview of the universe. We don't figure that part out. So when you've set your intention and you're in gratitude and you're doing your visualizing, there is a piece of just surrender, of just letting it go, knowing that I've set this intention and now I know that my good is coming to me. So you're
Yeah.
releasing again the how. You're knowing that it's done and you're not stressing about it. You're not like one of the analogies that I think is so good is that you dig a hole and you plant the seed and you put the soil on, and then you don't go out there and dig it up and say, is it growing? Is it growing? Because that doesn't work, right? We
Right.
don't do that. We plant it and then we
That's
have faith.
awesome.
We water it. We know we give it sunlight, we give it what it needs, and then we know that it's going to grow. So
Yeah.
don't forget to
Yeah.
surrender. We
I
don't
love that.
control. We don't
Yeah.
control everything
Yeah.
in this
Yeah.
world.
And also letting go of those limited beliefs
Yes,
systems
and
that
another
we
good thing to
have.
surrender. Yes.
And the sort of the negative, feelings that we might have, like, oh yeah, well, I'm doing this, but I don't really believe it's gonna work. Like, so
Right. Because things don't ever work for me, and I'm
yes,
not, that's for other people. I can't
yes,
have money, or I never, all my relationships are bad, or I
yeah,
attract the wrong men. Like, let's not affirm the things that we absolutely don't want.
yes,
That's your moment to say, oh, wait, cancel that. I do
yeah,
attract, exactly. I attract the best companion for me for a loving, uplifting, connected relationship, or money comes to me easily. I don't worry about money because I know I always have what I need to live my life the way I want to live it. These are affirmations
yeah.
versus affirming what you don't want. Don't affirm what you don't want.
Only believe all the possibilities, right?
Yeah.
That's a simple way of doing it. Imagine, just imagine without any limits what your life can be and that you can live the life that you want. It's
Yeah.
you really do have a lot of power and a lot of say and a lot of imagination around all of this. Yeah.
Yeah. And so engage in some fun visualization. It really is fun and wonderful. Play some music and imagine that thing that you
Yeah.
love, that you would love, and know that it is for you. You deserve it because you
Yeah.
do. You do deserve it. You deserve the good in your life, and so does everybody else. Again,
Yeah.
it's not a piece of pie or not a pie. There's not just a limited number of pieces. We all deserve the good in our lives.
Yes, yes. Amen to that.
Yes.
And by the way, this podcast comes as a way of our manifestations to you.
That's right.
So, so thank you everybody for listening in. We love you.
Yeah.
We love these conversations.
Yeah. Keep listening.
Hey, warrior moms. As we started this podcast, we had determined that part of what we were going to do is to create a community. So we have decided to take it to another level, and we have started our own Facebook community in addition to the Warrior Parent podcast, and it's called
From Chaos to Calm, a sanctuary for moms. Here's what it looks like. It's on Facebook right now. Please go and join it. And just to let you know, we're going to create our Blue Sky accounts right now. We're getting prepared as we watch this weird stuff go on in America. So we may be shifting the whole group to Blue Sky. Just be aware that we got you. You're going to start here. If this turns out to be not a safe place anymore on Facebook, then we will shift over. But what we're creating is a safe space where moms can show up and get information, get support, talk to each other about the things you're going through with your kids, the things you went through with your kids, maybe get some advice from moms, but also other experts. We're going to invite all of our guests and experts to join the group. I hope you will too. This is a place where you can show up and be seen and be heard and be safe. Mom's got you.
Nobody trusts anyone more than moms. So let's do this.
And now for your core mental health break. This is your opportunity to take a moment to support your mental wellness, your peace of mind, your own ease and grace. Take some time every day to support your mental health. You deserve it, and it matters.
Today's affirmation is, I am abundant. Say it aloud with me. I am abundant. Feel it and know the truth of it. I am abundant.
Thanks for listening to the Warrior Parent Podcast, which is a production of our nonprofit, Cour Experience, who also creates and distributes Cour tools. You can find us at courexperience.org. Make sure you join us next week for another informative conversation to help you and your family show up mindfully, purposefully, and joyfully with each other and in your community.
Our Cour Tools platform consists of a number of proven tools and techniques that are designed to reduce stress, anxiety, and overwhelm in spite of what's going on in your world. We want to thank Samuel Hale, LLC, for sponsoring this podcast. Technical and marketing support comes from Inspire Your Brand. Our podcast editor is Justin Beeden. Opinions expressed by guests do not necessarily reflect those of the hosts, the producers, or the financial supporters. I'm Debbie DiManno.
And I'm Marci Mitchell. Thanks for listening. If you resonate with the idea of creating a community to help support kids and families, won't you join us by following the podcast and sharing this episode? You can even write a review. It truly does take a village, and we appreciate you.